அடுத்த கிளாஸ் பார்க்கலாம். The next is the vacuum bag moulding. So from the name itself you can understand that vacuum pressure will be used, not the atmospheric pressure. Okay. Atmospheric pressure will be used to pressurize the material or the composite with the help of vacuum pressure. Okay. So we can read out the definition. Vacuum bagging is a clamping method that uses the atmospheric pressure. That is, to use the atmospheric pressure, vacuum pressure will be used to hold the adhesives or resin coated components of a lamination in place until the adhesive cures. So there are the varieties of vacuum bag molding diagrams are there. Just if you Google it, there are a number of diagrams. These are the diagrams which I have taken from the Google only. Not I have not created by own. There are a number of diagrams are there. Here, this is the each and every process which has been developed after one process, which should rectify the problems occurred in the earlier process. So there are some problems in the case of hand layup method. Just now we have seen hand layup and spray up method. There are some disadvantages and problems we have listed. Listen, what are the problems? Labor intensive, consistency will not be there.
Fiber length will be short, sir.
Fiber length will be very short in the case of sprayer. And in the case of the one more problem which we have not discussed in the hand layup method is, you cannot able to increase the fiber volume fraction higher in the case of hand layup method. So if you are stacking 10 layers of reinforcement, obviously you need to use 500 ml of matrix material. If it is slightly reduced, with the 7 or 8 layer itself, matrix will be over. Okay. So you cannot reduce the volume of matrix in the case of hand layup. Slightly more amount of matrix material may be needed in the case of hand layup method. If matrix volume is higher, then what will happen to the property of the composite? If the matrix volume is higher, reinforcement volume is lesser, what will happen to the property of the composite? It will have lower strength. If the reinforcement volume is higher, matrix volume is lower, then the strength will be higher. Since the reinforcement is the principal load carrying member, that is going to take more amount of load. That is why you need to increase the more amount of reinforcement with the proper bonding. Okay, with the proper bonding, that is important. So for proper bonding, how much amount of optimum matrix material is required, that can be done by means of vacuum bag molding. But in the case of manual molding or hand layup molding, obviously you need to use more amount of matrix material. That is 30% of the maximum 50% of volume fraction can be possible in the case of hand layup method. Beyond this, it is not at all possible. That means that 50% matrix material, 50% reinforcement should be there. If you are making a plate which is having 2 kg of weight, 1 kg will be of matrix and another 1 kg will be of reinforcement. But if you are manufacturing the same plate by means of hand layup method, the matrix percentage you can reduce to even 30% also. 70% reinforcement, 30% matrix can be possible. Okay, so that is achieved by means of vacuum bag molding. That is why this is a quality product which will give superior property than the hand layup method. Okay. Here, the same whatever may be the process which has followed for the hand layup method will be continued. During hand layup method, if you stack a number of layers, say for example 10 layers you have stacked, and in between each layers you have poured some amount of resin and you have spread it out. Okay. Due to its curing time, curing nature, sometimes during 8th or 9th layer, if you pour and roll out the matrix material, that matrix material will be going out also, isn't it? But if it going out, then that will not properly bond in all the places. For this, we need to arrest the flow of the resin which is going out of the reinforcement areas. Okay, for which you need to provide some kind of beading arrangement. That is called as a dam. Okay, if you are making 10 mm thick plate reaper or beading should be made on all the 4 areas. Even though the matrix comes out, that will the matrix will be stopped at the beading point. Okay, that is called as the dam, which will arrest the flow of the resin to go out of the reinforcement area. Okay, so that is called as a dam. So that has been given here. Depends on the density of the matrix material. You need to provide density as well. Depends on the thickness of the laminate you are going to make. If you are going to make only 2 mm, 3 mm, then that beading may not be required. Okay. If you are making thick plate 10 mm or 20 mm, obviously the resin will be going out, isn't it? So to avoid that one, you need to provide some kind of dams. Okay. That is called as the beading or dam. Okay. So the laminate will be made similar to the fan layer method with the dam. This is the cut section of the process. This is the cut section of the process. So this indicates the beading will be produced on the end. Right? So the dam will be. So here some amount of volume fraction of matrix and the volume fraction of reinforcement, both some amount of volume of matrix and the volume of reinforcement will be there in the laminate, along with the dam, along with the bottom plate. Bottom plate, that is called as a mold pattern, on top of which, as I told you, this is called as release film. What is the material? Either it may be wax, you can apply by means of wax material, or simply understanding என்ன சொன்ன OHP வைக்கிறீங்க பெரிய சைஸா, அதுக்கு மேல you can stack the reinforcement. In between the reinforcement you can pour the resin, you can roll out accordingly until you reach the required amount of thickness. The stacking should be followed. Okay. Once it has been entirely made, then now the vacuum bag molding comes into the picture. Once you have stacked all the layers, now the vacuum bag molding comes into the picture. So this laminate consists of 50% of the matrix, 50% of the reinforcement. For example, our aim is to reduce the matrix volume. Reduce the matrix volume. If you are taking some amount of matrix from the laminate, obviously that says that the reinforcement volume is higher. If the reinforcement volume is higher, then the strength will be good. Okay, the strength will be good. Right? That is the purpose of vacuum bag molding. If any excess resin or if any liquid is there, or if sometimes if the liquid is dropped in the floor in your house, immediately what you will do? வீட்டில் தண்ணி ஊற்றிச்சு வேகமாக, நம்ம ஆயில் நம்மள என்ன பண்ணுவோம், ஃபஸ்ட்டு அது எப்படி எடுப்போம், மக்க வச்சு மல்ல முடியுமா, என்ன பண்ணுவோம், ஒரு கிளாத் எடுத்து போடும். ஆர் your material which will absorb the moisture should be placed immediately there. The same thing, the same kind of material will be used for vacuum bag molding. Okay. The first layer, this is the release film, on top of which the numbers of reinforcement layers and the matrix will be there. On top of which peel ply. This is also a release film. This is also a release film that will have pores in nature. That will have pores. If you are placing the cloth on the floor, the cloth will have smaller pores. Likewise, this is called as a peel ply. In some of the internets or some of the books, that can be put it as perforated release film. Yeah, this is called as a release film, and that is called as a perforated. Perforated in the sense holes have been made. Some holes have been made. Okay, which will absorb more amount of moisture. Which will absorb here more amount of matrix. Which will absorb more amount of moisture. உங்களுக்கு ஈஸியாக புரிஞ்சுக்கணும்னா ஒரு சாக்கு பை, ஒரு துணியை போகிறதோட சாக்கு பை இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் அப்சர்வ் பண்ணும் இல்லையா. லைக்வைஸ் a similar kind of material should be placed on top of this one bleeder. But this is the peel fly. This is the peel fly, perforated peel fly, or you can simply understand that this is also one of the OHP sheet which will have n number of holes. You have to make the holes and you need to place the OHP sheet. Whereas the bottom one is OHP sheet without holes. And this is the perforated OHP sheet. Perforated OHP sheets now you can put n number of holes and you can place it over. If you place it over, through that hole the excess resin, then only it will come out. Holes padam mela vachina now, the resin will not come out, isn't it? So this is the perforated release film. After curing, it has to take away. At the same time, it has to emit the excess resin from the laminate to the outside. Okay, that is called as a perforated release film. On top of which, through that hole, the excess resin will come out. Through that hole, the excess resin will come out. On top of which, a bleeder material should be placed to the entire area of the laminate. The bleeder material has to absorb more amount of resin or moisture. That is the example what I quoted as it's only a cloth or sock pine soap. So this is the material, a cloth material or any kind of fabric material which will absorb more amount of resin. That layer is called as bleeder material. This will absorb up to certain amount. Okay. ஒரு cloth தரையில போடுறீங்க அது absorb பண்ணி முடிஞ்ச உடனே அதுக்கு மேல அது absorb பண்ணாது. Even if you have more amount of it, then you need to put one more layer. Okay. So this is the, since it absorbs more amount of matrix, that layer is called as a bleeder layer. Bleeder na more amount of flow will be there. Okay. Since it absorbs more amount of matrix material, this layer is called as a bleeder layer. On top of the bleeder layer, one more release film will be fixed. This release film is also perforated release film. So, in addition to the matrix material absorbed by the bleeder material, even more moisture content or matrix material will be there. That has to be entrapped. Okay. For this, you need to put up one more release film. That this release film will also perforated release film. Okay. Whereas this release film, this perforated release film, here it has been mentioned as being ply, which will consist of more number of holes, slightly bigger in size. The hole will also be bigger in size. Whereas here, the holes will be smaller in size, but numbers will be very high. Okay. Since the amount of liquid will be somewhat lesser in this case. And through the release film, if you put the release film here, this is also again one VHP sheet, which consists of n number of holes, smaller size holes. Okay. And through the smaller holes, some excess resin, if excess resin is there, that will come out. Okay. And it has to be absorbed by the next layer is the breather film. Breather film, that will be the slightly stronger material, and that will be completely closed here. That should be that has been made in such a way that that should be completely covered, like a cover. Okay, it should not be placed on the top alone. It should be completely covered. On the covering area, tape has to be made. Okay. This is the breather material. You can assume it is similar to that of a brick. Okay. And brick will absorb some amount of moisture. Okay. Like a ceramic material or a brick material, which will have a zigzag pores through which the absorption will be there. Okay. So this is breather material will absorb only lesser amount of moisture content, whereas the bleeder will absorb more amount. அதுதான் அந்த எக்ஸாம்பிள் என்ன சொன்னேன்? சாக்கு பீஸ் சொன்னேன். இதுக்கு என்ன சொன்னேன்? brick, normal refractory brick. That will absorb only lesser amount of it. So this will have smaller amount of holes or pores which will be in the zigzag form. And that will be completely covers the entire mold with some pressure sensitive tapes. That means that there will not be any leakages beyond this point. There will not be any leakages with either liquid or air will not come out through like a complete cover. A complete cover will be there and that will be completely sealed on the throat area. Okay. On top of which this is the bagging film. This is the bagging film. On the top of the breather film, a complete bag will be placed. That is called as a bagging film. That will not have any holes, any pores. That will not have any pores. The bag will be completely closed on the entire part, and that will be completely sealed. Completely sealed. If this is completely closed, and that will be completely sealed, and it should not have any kind of pores. It is a complete pore-free material. But whereas the breather film is the that will have pores in zigzag. அதுதான் செங்கல்னு சொன்னோம். Okay, brickன்னு சொன்னோம். So whereas the bagging film is the a material which will not have any pores, like a sheet, MS sheet or aluminum sheet or plastic sheet that will not have any pores. Completely that will be covered on the mold and that will be completely sealed. And through the bag, a hole will be made. This hole will be connected to a vacuum pump. This hole will be connected to a vacuum pump. If the vacuum pump is switched on, what it will do? It will suck the air. Okay. So during its suction of the air, if the excess resins are there, through the breather film also, through the zigzag hole, the resin will comes out and the excess resin will also comes out. Okay. How much amount you need to extract the matrix material from the laminate, that much time you need to switch on the vacuum pump or vacuum pressure should be selected. Okay. Vacuum pressure should be selected. Why I told this is the material which is similar to that of a brick material in the sense, since the vacuum pump is connected, this bag is completely covered. The reflector is completely covered and sealed. Okay. And they have made one hole. To improve the quality of the product, this hole will be made at n number also. N number of places, the hole will be made. Finally, all the hole will be connected on a single that will be connected to a vacuum pump. Can you tell me the reason?
So it's having holes.
Here, this has been given that at only this point, hole is connected here. It has been connected to the vacuum pump. Okay. If the vacuum pump is switched on, it will try to suck. Okay. So whatever if the resin which is present here, it is very difficult to suck through this hole and it will come out. Isn't it? That is why to improve the quality of the product, what they will do, here one hole, another hole, to the number of holes they will make and finally connect all the holes, then they will make the common vacuum bag. In all the cases, uniformly that will suck. Okay. If you make only at one point this vacuum pump, more amount of suction will be from this side or from this area, more amount of matrix material will be sucked. So through this area, matrix volume will be somewhat lesser. Through this areas in the laminate, matrix volume will be slightly higher. Ununiform extraction of the matrix material from the laminate will be there if you provide only one hole. Okay. These are all the ways for improving the quality of the laminate by vacuum bag molding. Okay. So that is why this breather film is also quoted that like a brick material, which will have the zigzag holes. It will not very easy to extract the matrix material. Okay. Through that zigzag holes, the excess resin has to come out. So more amount of the matrix material will be absorbed by the first layer itself, bleeder layer. That is why this is called as a bleeder. Bleeder na bleed out. Excess of white album. So that is why this name is called as a bleeder film. This film is bleeder film. Whereas the bleeder film will absorb only lesser amount. Okay. In slightly toughest situation. That is by overcoming the zigzag path, this will absorb some amount of moisture or the matrix material. Breather. So a smaller amount. So the film which separates the breather film and the bleeder film is called as the perforated release film, but technically that is called as a barrier film. Okay. So in these cases, in the case of vacuum bag molding, what are the two layers which absorbs more amount of matrix? Bleeder and bleeder. There is a bleeder and the breather. Only these two layers will absorb more amount of moisture, more amount of matrix material. According to the quality of the laminate will be good, isn't it? So this is the layer which separates the two main layers of the vacuum bag molding. This layer is called as barrier film. Barrier film. Barrier. This is the barrier film which separates the there is a bleeder layer and the breather layer. So this layer is called as, you can mention it as barrier film, and this is perforated release film. Don't put it as a pill film. Okay, perforated release film, and this is the simple release film. Okay, so these are all the layers. Each and every layer you need to write, and you need to write about the functions of each and every layer. Okay, what is the purpose of release film? What is the purpose of perforated release film? What is the purpose of bleeder? what are the materials will be normally used in breeder, and what is the purpose of intermediate layer, barrier film, and what is the purpose of this breather, which will give the uniform absorption of the matrix material, and as well as which will be used to give uniform vacuum pressure on all the areas. Instead of brick like ceramic material, if you would have selected a cloth material, even some of the cloth material, thicker cloth material will be having the zigzag path also. Okay. If it is of the thin cloth material, more amount of section will be there on only one part. Okay. So even though if you provide n number of places the holes, through the exactly on the exact point of the hole, you should not suck more amount of matrix. Okay. It has to be spread into the some area. So for this breather film will be used. Okay. To distribute the vacuum pressure to the nearby areas, the breather film will be used. Okay. And this is the final film is the vacuum film, which will not have any holes. If it has any kind of holes, what will happen? Vacuum will connect pannina atmosphere air ulla varum. Okay. So that is this should be pore free bag. That is a pore free bag. This bagging film is a pore free bag that should be completely covers the entire laminate with the mastic sealant. Okay. With the proper sealant. So there are n number of diagrams. So how much amount of vacuum pressure you need to maintain, or how much amount of matrix material should be removed, accordingly you can set the vacuum pressure and vacuum timing also. So if the pressure is around 27 bar and it has to be maintained for 5 minutes, that will remove 100 ml. If it is maintained for 30 minutes, that will remove another 100 ml. Like this, some design calculations will be there. Accordingly, you can maintain the vacuum pressure and time. Okay. This is another. Here they have mentioned these layers. This is another diagram. There are a number of diagrams are there. Okay. Only thing is you need to understand what is the purpose of each and every layer. You can construct by your own diagram and you can explain. Okay. It is not necessary that you have to draw the diagram similar to which is available in the textbook or the net. Okay. Your diagram should emphasize all the functions of layers. Okay. First one is the bottom mold, then release film, then the laminate, covers with the dam material, beading material, on top of which perforated release film, which will have bigger size holes, then on top of which bleeder film, which will absorb, it's like a cloth material, which will absorb more amount of moisture or more amount of matrix, then on top of which again one more perforated release film, that is called as barrier film, which will have again holes of smaller in size, higher in numbers. Okay. Then on top of which breather film, so which will absorb small amount of matrix. Then on top of which bagging film. So bagging film and the breather film should be sealed with the mold plate. These two will be sealed. So these two, this should be sealed. As well, this two should be sealed. Then only it will give uniform vacuum pressure throughout the entire area. It will give uniform pressure to the entire area. If you don't seal it, through that hole also some metal will come out. Okay. So the breather film and the bagging film should be completely sealed in the molding table. The bagging film should be of non-porous. Okay. Just you can see the components in the vacuum bag molding, release fabric, perforated film, breather material, vacuum bag, mastic sealant, then finally plumbing pipeline and the plumbing systems. Release fabric, that is called as a release film. Okay, the way we should do so. Okay. A smooth woven, sometimes woven fabric, not bond to epoxy, not bond to any kind of matrix. Whatever thuni adana eduthukalam, illa white sheet. Okay. Then used to separate breather and the laminate. There also this release fabric will be used. Excess epoxy can be through the release. Excess fabric should go to the holes provided in the release film. That is, this is perforated release film. Okay. Perforated film used in conjunction with the release fabric. Thin film helps to hold the resin in laminate. when high vacuum pressure is used with slow curing with resin system or in the case of thin laminates. Breeder film, as I told, breeder material absorbs excess resin from the layer. Excess resin from the layer while resin cures. Fiberglass fabric or other absorbent materials like any cloth, any material. Fiberglass fabric or other absorbent materials or fabrics can be useful for this purpose. The amount of breeder material to be placed is governed by its. You should not put, if you are using 100 ml of matrix material and if you put more amount of breeder material, it will almost, if it removes all the matrix material, then the bonding will not be good. Okay, so appropriately you have to calculate and that much amount of material should be placed. Okay, it depends on its absorbency, the fiber volume decided on the resin content of the laminate. How much amount of fiber should be left out, how much amount of the matrix should be left, accordingly you have to select the breeder material. Okay, if you put more amount of breeder material, if it absorbs all the matrix, then the bonding will not be there. Laminate on reinforcement which it will. Okay. The degree of resin cure. So the degree of resin cure. Sometimes some of the resins will cure quickly, some of them will cure. Barrier film, as I told, it's placed after the breeder so that the resin flow can be controlled. Okay. This is the in between the breeder to the breather. Again, it's also a non-stick film. It's a type of again perforated release film, nylon, cellophane, or any kind of material will be used. Perforations can also help to prevent the breeder from becoming clogged with the excess resin. So smaller holes with n numbers. Okay, holes should be similar to that of breather material. Brick line chinna holes irukku adhe pola chinna holes irukku. Okay. Breather film used to allow uniform application of vacuum all over the area of the laminate and remove of the excess air. This is the breather film, like a refractory brick. Used to allow uniform application of vacuum. Uniform application of vacuum. Even the vacuum bag is connected with the hole. Even if it sucks, it will not suck through that pipe and point alone. The area will be spreaded and through the surrounding area, uniform suction will be there. And removal of the excess air or vortex throughout the intake flow. It should be trappable easily. Hence a loosely woven fabric material. Fabric material or brick material or anything. A fabric felt made of fiberglass, cotton, jute can be also used. Vacuum bag. This is the final cover of the vacuum bag molding. Used to contain the vacuum generated by the pump and operate on the layer. It must be resistant to the curing temperature. If there is any temperature involved, it has to withstand. It should be non-porous. That is very important. It should be non-porous since the air should not enter the vacuum line system. Okay. Nylon or any kind of material. High pressure temperature has to withstand. Mastic sealant. Sealant may be of any material. Plumbing system. Vacuum hose, port, valves and gauges. Other things should be trap, vacuum gauge. This is the complete vacuum bag. Finally, our cover put that will be completely sealed here. Here and here the vacuum pump is connected. Advantages compared with the hand layer. Higher volume fraction, that is the obvious purpose for vacuum bag molding. Lower void content. In the case of hand layer, even though if you roll out, some of the air bubbles may be left out also. That air bubbles will be during vacuum that will be sucked, comes out. Lower void content. Better fiber wet out due to pressure and the resin flow. Even sometimes if some places fiber in the 8th layer fiber is not wet out, if you are sucking from the bottom, the resin will come out. The 8th layer will also get wetted. Okay. Heavier fabrics can be wet out. Volatile organic compounds are largely contained during the curing. So if it is a volatile, then that will be removed. Additional consolidation pressure can help the reinforcement to conform to tight curvatures. Okay. If any curvature part is there during vacuum pressure, that will be exactly formed. Improved mechanical properties consequent upon the higher fiber volume flux. That is the main move. Higher labor skills for the bagging stage. low production rates due to bagging stage. Production rate is lower. Joining bagging film for large items. Mold tool must be vacuum tight. You need to provide the mold tool in such a way it should be vacuum tight. Vacuum pump must strip mold from the region. Sometimes vacuum pump, so during section of the matrix material, sometimes the matrix material will also be clogged into the vacuum pump also. After a switch off, if you switch off the vacuum pump, the matrix material may be cured. The matrix material will be cured in the vacuum pump. You need to clean it. Okay, that is the problem. Consumable materials compatibility with resin. Consolidation pressure maximum limited to 1 atmosphere pressure. Applications almost, this will be used in almost wherever a stylish aesthetic look or quality product is required. There they will go for this vacuum bag molding. Hulls and decks of recreational boats. Boats composite that is made by means of this one. Even and layup also there. There you cannot expect the good quality. Here good quality boats will be made by using this vacuum bag molding. Transportation, roof and floors of refrigerator containers, automobile, aerospace, industrial and etc. Energy, infrastructure, almost in all applications, this vacuum bag molding is used. If you just look out a sporty bike, there are n number of fenders, front shield, everything are made up of vacuum bag molding. That will give the pore-free, smooth finished component, aesthetic look component. That is it, they will go for this kind of vacuum bag molding. That's all about the vacuum bag molding. Do you have any doubt on this vacuum bag molding? So you need to draw a diagram and you need to list out what are the layers.